I stared at my reflection in the simple vanity mirror. My face was plain, free of heavy makeup, with only a layer of moisturizer and a light dusting of powder. My hair was pulled back into a neat, practical ponytail. It was the look of a homemaker who dedicated her entire existence to this small sanctuary we called home. There was no glittering jewelry around my neck, not because I couldn't afford it, but because I chose simplicity for my husband's comfort. Michael, he would be home soon. I murmured softly, glancing at the wall clock, which was ticking toward evening. On the dining table, his favorite meal, a slow-cooked pot roast with creamy mashed potatoes, was waiting, warm and ready. A bitter smile touched my lips as I remembered how I'd met him 5 years ago. Back then, Michael was a broken man. He was a divorcee, shattered to his core, betrayed by his first wife, Clarissa. From the stories I'd heard, and the one photo I'd accidentally stumbled upon, that woman was the definition of extravagance. Beautiful, glamorous, and demanding a lifestyle that Michael, at the time, simply couldn't provide. Clarissa ran off with another, wealthier man, leaving Michael with a deep-seated trauma about marriage. I didn't enter his life as some magical healer, but as a friend offering sincerity. I accepted Michael for who he was. I didn't care that he was divorced. I didn't care that he had failed before. All I knew was that I loved him and wanted to rebuild his confidence. I convinced him that not all women were gold diggers. I proved to him that loyalty still existed, and so we married. The first few years of our marriage were heaven. Michael worked hard, and I supported him from behind the scenes. The consulting firm we started together began to flourish. The once insecure Michael now walked tall in expensive Armani suits that I had chosen for him. But lately, something had changed. The roar of a car engine in the driveway shattered my thoughts. I hurried to the front door, putting on my best smile. The door opened to reveal the handsome figure of my husband. Yet, his face wasn't as bright as it used to be when he saw me waiting for him. "You're home, honey. Do you want to shower first or eat right away?" I asked gently, reaching for his briefcase as I always did. Michael brushed my hand away. It was a soft gesture, but it was enough to make my heart sink. "I'm tired, Emily. Just leave it there. I already ate out with a client." "Oh, I see," I replied, trying to hide my disappointment. I had been cooking since the afternoon. "Well, let me draw you a hot bath." "No, don't." His voice rose slightly. He let out a long sigh as if my very presence was a burden. "I'm going straight to bed. Don't bother me." He strode past me without another glance. As his body brushed against mine, my nose caught a foreign scent. It wasn't the masculine woody cologne I usually bought for him. It was a sweet, intoxicating aroma of vanilla and rose. A woman's perfume, and not just any perfume. My senses were trained enough to recognize Chanel No. 5, an expensive, seductive fragrance that was both sharp and alluring. My heart pounded in my chest. Impossible, my mind screamed in denial. Michael was traumatized by infidelity. He was the victim. He could never become the perpetrator. I walked slowly to our bedroom and saw Michael had already tossed his dress shirt carelessly into the laundry hamper. His back was to me, cold and distant. "Michael," I called softly. "What is it now?" he snapped without turning around. "You've been working late a lot recently. Is the new project that demanding?" Michael turned, his eyes meeting mine with a look I couldn't decipher. There was anger, a flicker of guilt, but it was all masked by a massive ego. "It's called work, Emily. How would you understand? You just stay at home, making sure the grocery money is spent. Don't ask me about the office." His words were like a blade slicing through my heart. Just stay at home. Did he forget who had injected a lifeline of cash into his company when it was on the verge of collapse 2 years ago? Did he forget whose inheritance, the proceeds from my parents' sold condo, had been mortgaged to fund his initial expansion? It was all mine. My parents' legacy, which I had entrusted to him without a second thought. I swallowed hard, fighting back the tears. "I'm sorry, honey. I was just worried about your health." "If you're so worried, then let me get some rest," he finished, pulling the covers over himself and turning his back to me again. That night, I lay beside him, my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. I didn't know if Michael was sound asleep or just pretending. But the vibration of his phone on the nightstand on his side of the bed put me on high alert. The screen lit up briefly. A new message. Normally, I never checked his phone. I respected his privacy because I trusted him completely. But tonight, that woman's perfume and his cold demeanor had demolished the fortress of my trust. With a trembling hand, I slowly reached for the phone. Luckily, Michael was a creature of habit. He had never changed his passcode since we married. Our wedding date. The phone unlocked. My eyes immediately fell on a WhatsApp notification from an unsaved number, but the profile picture made my blood boil. That face, a beautiful face with bold makeup, bright red lips, and perfectly styled hair. Clarissa. The message was brief, but it was enough to shatter my world in an instant. Thanks for dinner tonight, babe. You look more handsome than ever. A world of difference from when we split. Can't wait for our next date. My world collapsed. The phone nearly slipped from my grasp. Clarissa was back. The ex-wife who had thrown him away like trash was now cozying up to him, now that he was successful. And Michael, my husband, the man who once cried on my shoulder over his betrayal, was entertaining her. I looked at his sleeping face with a mixture of disgust, anger, and disappointment. "You forgot, Michael," I whispered, tears finally streaming down my cheeks. "You forgot who picked you up when you were broken. You forgot who stitched the pieces of your heart back together." I placed the phone back carefully. I didn't wake him. I didn't scream. If this were a soap opera, maybe I would be pulling that homewrecker's hair or throwing a drink in my husband's face right now. But no, I was not a foolish woman who exploded without a plan. I glanced at the wardrobe mirror in front of me. The reflection of the simple woman stared back at me with a fierce glint in her eyes. They think I'm a weak woman who only belongs in the kitchen, I thought, wiping my tears away harshly. All right, Michael. If you want to play with fire from your past, go ahead. But don't expect to burn down the house I built without getting burned yourself. Tonight, my sincere love began to crack, replaced by a cold, calculated plan. I made a promise to myself. I would not cry again tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, I would no longer be the wife who only asked, "What do you want for dinner, honey?" Starting tomorrow, I would be a nightmare for those who betrayed me. Silently, I rose from the bed and walked to the home office downstairs. I opened a small safe hidden behind a painting. Inside were all the asset documents, the deed to our house, the titles to the luxury cars Michael drove, and the company's financial records. I smiled faintly, a terrifying smile. Enjoy your affair, Michael. Before you realize it, you'll be a squatter in your own home. The next morning, the dining table felt colder than usual. Though sunlight streamed through the window, Michael sat across from me, sipping his black coffee in a hurry. His eyes were glued to his phone screen. Occasionally, his fingers would type rapidly, and a faint smile would grace his lips. A smile that vanished as soon as he realized I was watching him. "Good news from the office, honey?" I asked, placing a plate of scrambled eggs and bacon in front of him. Michael flinched. He quickly turned off his phone and slipped it into his suit pocket. His movements were awkward, secretive. No. Just the usual office group chat. "The team is joking about a new project," he stammered. The lie was so obvious to me now. A week ago, I might have believed it without question. But today, that filter of the naive wife had been stripped away. "Michael," I called again, "what time will you be home tonight? I was thinking of making that ribeye you love." Michael cleared his throat, adjusting his tie. He didn't dare look me in the eye. "Don't cook, Emily. I have to work late again. Probably won't be back until after midnight. That client from yesterday wants a rush revision on the proposal. You should go to bed early." Work late. The phrase now sounded like a filthy code word in my ears. "All right. Well, take care of yourself." "Don't forget the vitamins I packed in your bag," I said, my tone intentionally gentle, as if nothing was wrong. Michael nodded, gave me a quick, perfunctory kiss on the forehead, a kiss devoid of any warmth, and rushed out to his car. The black Range Rover we had bought 2 years ago. No, correct that. The car I had bought 2 years ago with the money from the sale of my mother's estate, but had put in his name so he would look more respectable to his business partners. As soon as his car disappeared around the corner, the smile on my face vanished. I didn't clear the table. I walked straight to the office. I turned on my laptop and opened our online banking portal. As the wife entrusted with managing the household finances, and because a significant portion of Michael's business capital came from me, I had access to all our transaction histories, including the supplementary credit card Michael held. My heart pounded as I stared at the numbers on the screen. I narrowed my eyes, scanning the transactions from the last 3 days. Soho Boutique, $2.5. A woman's handbag. The Modern Restaurant, $500. Dinner for 2. Madison Avenue Florist, $150. My blood boiled. My hands clenched into fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. $2,500 for a handbag. I looked down at my own clothes, a pair of faded yoga pants and a worn-out t-shirt. The last time I bought new clothes for myself was during the Black Friday sales 6 months ago, a simple dress for $30. I had been saving every penny. I cut back on my skincare budget. I rarely went to the salon. All of it was to ensure Michael's business had a healthy cash flow. It turned out my scrimping was just subsidizing another woman's lifestyle, the very woman who had left him because he was poor. "How dare he?" I hissed. I fought back the tears that threatened to fall. "No, don't cry over lost money. Focus on how to get it all back." I needed visual proof. He could easily dismiss these credit card charges as gifts for clients. I needed to see it with my own eyes. That evening, the clock showed 8 p.m. A text from Michael came in. "Still in a meeting. Honey, don't wait up for me." I knew where they were. The credit card transactions had a pattern. They always had dinner in upscale Manhattan neighborhoods. I changed my clothes, not into my usual loungewear, but into black jeans, a dark blouse, and a baseball cap. I didn't take my car. I hailed an Uber to a fine dining restaurant in the meatpacking district, the same place where Michael had just made an online reservation. I knew because the confirmation email was sent to a secondary account synced to our home tablet. Michael was a fool. He forgot that I was the one who set up all the technology in our house. The Uber dropped me off across the street from the lavish restaurant. Through the large glass windows facing the street, I could see the scene inside. Dim lighting, waiters in bow ties, the glint of wine glasses. My eyes scanned the room and stopped at a corner table by the window. There sat my husband, Michael. He didn't look like a man in a tense meeting with a demanding client. He was laughing freely, his face beaming. His right hand wasn't holding a pen or a document. It was holding tightly onto the hand of a woman across the table, Clarissa. She looked just as my memory of her and Michael's bitter descriptions had painted her, but now she was even more radiant. She wore a deep red dress that exposed her smooth shoulders. Her hair was styled perfectly, shimmering under the lights. A necklace I was sure cost tens of thousands of dollars adorned her neck. Next to her plate was a shopping bag from a famous designer, the $2,500 bag. Clarissa laughed coquettishly, then fed a piece of steak to Michael. My husband accepted it with glee, as if he were the king of the world. The sight was excruciating, more painful than any physical wound. I remembered when Michael had the flu 3 months ago. I was the one who stayed up all night, placing cool compresses on his forehead. I was the one who spoon-fed him bland broth. I was the one who cleaned up his vomit. At that time, he had said, "You're the best woman in the world, Emily." Now, that best woman was standing on a cold sidewalk, watching her husband pamper the woman who had once thrown him in the trash. Clarissa leaned forward, whispering something in Michael's ear. He nodded enthusiastically, then took out his wallet. That platinum credit card, the one whose limit was secured by my savings deposit, was handed to the waiter. Enough. I took pictures with my phone. Once, twice, 3 times. I zoomed in on their faces, on their intertwined hands. These photos would be valuable ammunition in court. I didn't storm in. As much as I wanted to march in there, dump a glass of wine on Clarissa's heavily made-up face, and slap Michael back to his senses, it would only make me look like a hysterical madwoman. Clarissa would win. She would play the victim, and Michael would defend her. I am a wife with class. I will destroy them in a more elegant way. I turned and got back into the Uber that was still waiting for me. "Where to now, ma'am?" the driver asked. "Home, sir," I replied coldly. Then I corrected myself. "No. Please stop at an ATM first." Inside the cold, sterile ATM booth, I inserted my personal debit card. This was the card for our main joint savings account, where I kept the family's emergency fund and most of the business profits Michael had transferred to me over the last year. The amount was substantial, hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a steady finger, I initiated a transfer. I moved 90% of the balance to an old personal account of mine, an account with a regional credit union that Michael had never known about, an account I had before we were married. The ATM screen blinked. Transaction successful. The balance in our joint account was now reduced to mere pocket change. Consider this the first installment for my heartache, Michael, I muttered. That night, Michael came home in the early hours of the morning. I pretended to be asleep, my back to his side of the bed. He tiptoed into the room. The scent of vanilla and rose perfume filled the air again, mixed with the faint smell of alcohol. He went into the bathroom, probably to wash away traces of lipstick or Clarissa's scent. When he climbed into bed and wrapped his arms around me from behind, I felt an overwhelming wave of revulsion. My body tensed. "Honey, are you asleep?" he whispered. His voice sounded guilty. Or maybe that was just my imagination. I remained silent, regulating my breathing to sound even. Tomorrow, I have an important agenda. I will meet with Mr. Harris, my late father's trusted attorney. I need to confirm the status of the commercial property that houses Michael's business and the deed to this house. I remembered Michael asking me to transfer the deed to his name last year for a bank loan application, but I had stalled, citing administrative delays. God was still protecting me. Those documents were still in my name, and tomorrow I would make sure Michael could never touch those assets again. The war has begun, Michael, and you don't even know that your enemy is sleeping in the same bed with you. This coffee is bitter. Are you even trying to make it right? Michael's shout shattered the morning silence. He shoved the ceramic mug of black coffee, spilling some of its contents onto the white tablecloth I had just changed yesterday. I flinched, not out of fear, but out of astonishment at the drastic change in the man before me. Michael used to praise my coffee, saying the balance of sugar and coffee was perfect, like a love potion. Now, even the water I served him would probably be wrong in his eyes. "I'm sorry, honey." "The ratio is the same as always," I answered softly, immediately grabbing a cloth to clean the stain. "Is it my taste that's changed, or are you just getting more incompetent?" Michael scoffed, his eyes looking down on me. "Look at you, Emily. It's early morning and you already smell like garlic, and you're always in those same old yoga pants. Try to dress up a little. I'm a CEO. It's embarrassing to have a wife who looks so drab." My hand, which was wiping the table, paused, smelled like garlic. I had just showered and put on body lotion. Drab. He was the one who bought me these comfortable clothes for my birthday 2 years ago. I knew what was happening. Michael was looking for my flaws. He needed justification for his affair. He needed to convince himself that I deserved to be betrayed because I wasn't on the same level as his new woman. I straightened up, looking at him with eyes I deliberately made to look teary. "Why would you say that, Michael? I try to look nice for you. Besides, you cut the household budget this month, saying you needed capital for the new branch office. So I just—" "Money, money. Money. Again," Michael cut in, his face turning red. "You're so calculating with your own husband." "Forget it. I'll have breakfast out. I've lost my appetite." He grabbed his car keys and his jacket and stormed out without a word. The front door slammed shut, leaving a painful echo in the large, empty living room. I took a deep breath, and a wry smile slowly formed on my lips. "Go, Michael. Enjoy your last few days as king, because I am slowly dismantling your throne." Later that afternoon, my phone rang. My husband's name was on the screen. I let it ring 3 times before answering. I had to modulate my voice to sound innocent and clueless. "Hello, honey?" "Emily, what did you do to our main savings account?" Michael's voice was frantic and angry on the other end. There was a commotion in the background. It sounded like he was in a jewelry store or a boutique. "What's wrong, honey? What happened?" I asked, feigning confusion. "I'm trying to pay for something, but the card was declined. It says insufficient funds. You're embarrassing me in front of a client." "Ah, he must be with Clarissa, buying her another gift." I smiled with satisfaction, imagining Michael's red face in front of the cashier, while Clarissa probably looked at him with a raised eyebrow, doubting the financial prowess of her new sugar daddy. "Oh, that," I paused for a moment, letting Michael's panic grow. "Well, honey, the bank called me yesterday. They said there was a special high-yield certificate of deposit offer for long-time customers. Since you said you needed a large amount of capital for expansion next year, I took the initiative and moved 90% of the balance into a fixed-term CD." "What?" Michael screamed. "Why didn't you ask me first?" "Well, you've been so busy lately. You rarely reply to my texts and get angry when I call. I just wanted to help you save so the money wouldn't be spent on unimportant things. Besides, the CD is in my name since the original account was mine, so the process was quick," I explained with a blameless, innocent tone. There was a moment of silence. Michael was trapped. He couldn't get angry because my reason was to save for his business. If he threw a fit about not being able to buy luxury goods, he would expose his own extravagance. And the key point, he knew the account was originally mine before we married, even though we used it jointly. But I need cash now, Emily." "Cancel the CD," he urged, his voice lower but full of pressure. "I can't, honey. If we cash it out before maturity, there's a 20% penalty. That would be a huge waste of money. You can just use the other credit card, can't you?" "That card is maxed out," he blurted out. "Maxed out? For what, honey? The limit is $50,000, I prodded. Michael stammered. For office operational costs, of course. You ask too many questions. Wire me $5,000 to my personal account. Now. Quick." Click. He hung up. $5,000. For a supposedly successful businessman, he had to beg his wife for $5,000. Pathetic. I transferred the money, not out of fear, but to give him a little more rope. It was like fishing. You have to let the line out a bit before yanking it hard so it doesn't snap. Let him feel like he won today. Let Clarissa stick to him for one more day. Because if Clarissa left now, my game wouldn't be as fun. I wanted them to fall together from the peak of their deluded fantasies. That evening, the terror began. A WhatsApp message came from an unknown number. No profile picture. Ping. I opened it. A photo downloaded. My blood ran cold. It was a picture of a hand. A man's hand I knew so well, with the Rolex watch I bought him last year, holding tightly onto a woman's hand with flawless white skin and bright red nail art. Below the photo was a short message. "He's happier with me. Know your place, you boring housewife." My hand trembled as I held the phone. Clarissa. That snake was now brave enough to strike at me directly. It wasn't enough for her to have Michael. She wanted to torture me, to make me feel small, ugly, and worthless. She wanted me to be the one to file for divorce, so she wouldn't look like a homewrecker. I took a deep breath, calming my racing heart. A year ago, I would have been wailing in tears seeing this. But now, this photo was evidence. I took a screenshot of the message and saved it in a hidden folder named Trash. Before I could put the phone down, a second message came in. This time, it was a photo of Michael, sleeping soundly, bare-chested, with a sheet covering the lower half of his body. The background was a luxurious hotel room. "Your husband says I am his real home. You're just a pit stop." A single tear fell onto the phone screen. It hurt. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. That sentence struck a blow to my pride as a woman who had sacrificed everything. I typed a reply, my fingers dancing coldly over the screen. I wouldn't curse. I would play dumb. "I'm sorry. Who is this?" "I think you have the wrong number. This is Mrs. Walker's phone. Please don't send fake photoshopped pictures. I will report you to the police for cyber harassment. My husband is a faithful man. He would never do something like this." Sent. I could imagine Clarissa's frustrated face. She must have expected me to get angry, jealous, or curse her out. Instead, I called her a fraud. That would wound her ego, her desire to be acknowledged. Soon, a reply came. "You stupid woman. In denial even when your husband is cheating on you. Just you wait." After that, the number blocked me. I smiled bitterly. Yes, let's wait and see, Clarissa. Who will have the last laugh? That night, Michael came home looking tired but with a satisfied aura. Maybe because he managed to buy something with that $5,000. He was carrying a small shopping bag. A part of my heart hoped. Was it for me? An apology for his outburst this morning? Michael sat on the sofa, placing the bag on the table. It's perfume. Here, he said flatly. I took it with feigned enthusiasm. Wow, thanks, honey. It's been a while since you bought me perfume. I opened the box. The bottle looked luxurious, but when I sprayed a little on my wrist, the scent was vanilla and rose, the same scent Clarissa wore. Michael wanted me to smell like his mistress. How twisted was this man's mind? He wanted to erase his guilt by making his wife and his lover the same. Or maybe he imagined Clarissa when he was with me. My stomach churned. I wanted to throw this bottle against the wall. So? Do you like it? Michael asked, staring at me intently. It's expensive. Classy women wear it, so you don't smell like garlic all the time. I swallowed the bitter taste in my mouth. I forced a smile. The fakest smile I had ever made in my life. I love it, honey. The scent is so sweet. Thank you. You always know what's best for me. Michael smiled, satisfied, his ego stroked. Good. Now, run me a hot bath. I need to wash up. As soon as Michael's back disappeared behind the bedroom door, I ran to the guest bathroom downstairs. I washed my wrist with soap over and over again, scrubbing it harshly until my skin was red, trying to remove that disgusting scent. My angry tears mixed with the running water from the faucet. You want me to be like her, Michael? I whispered to my wet reflection in the mirror. Fine. I will become a nightmare far more terrifying than she could ever be. Later that night, when Michael was snoring, I left the bedroom. I took my laptop. It was time for the next phase. I sent an email to a real estate agent I knew well. Subject: Sale of commercial and land assets. The message was brief. Mr. Davis, please prepare the sales documents for the commercial property on Fifth Avenue, where Michael's firm is located, and the undeveloped land upstate. I want to sell them as soon as possible, but please do it quietly. Don't put up a for sale sign in front of the building yet. Find a buyer from your private network. The property was in my name. Michael only had a commercial lease, which was due for renewal next month. If the property was sold, Michael would lose his place of business, but that wasn't enough. I opened the state court website, studying the requirements for a divorce petition and the division of marital assets. I wouldn't file now. I would wait for him to file, so I could play the part of the wronged victim and demand full control. Fortunately, we didn't have children, so I could focus on destroying him without worrying about a child's mental well-being. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. I quickly closed the laptop and pretended to be reading a recipe in a magazine. Michael appeared in the doorway, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. Not sleeping? What are you doing up so late? Just looking for a new recipe for tomorrow, honey. You said you were bored with my cooking, I answered calmly. Michael grunted. Whatever. Just don't forget to iron my gray suit tomorrow. I have an important meeting. A meeting with who, honey? A new client. A major investor. If this deal goes through, we'll be rich, Emily. You won't have to worry about petty grocery money anymore. A major investor. My gut told me this had something to do with Clarissa's social circle. She must have introduced Michael to her contacts to entangle him further. I hope it goes well, honey, I said. A sincere prayer, actually. I hope your downfall goes smoothly, Michael. The higher you fly on Clarissa's fake wings, the more shattered your bones will be when I cut them off. The rain fell heavily that afternoon, as if the sky itself was weeping for my marriage. Lightning flashed, momentarily illuminating the dark living room. Michael had called an hour ago. He said he was coming home early today not to have dinner with me, but to pick up an important file he'd forgotten before leaving for a 2-day business trip out of town. A business trip. I smiled grimly. I had already checked his flight and hotel reservations through his synced email. He had booked 2 tickets to Miami, one in his name and one in Clarissa's. Come home, Michael. Take what you need to take, because soon there will be nothing left for you here, I murmured. The sound of his car pulling up was followed by Michael running through the rain. He burst into the house, breathing heavily. He looked sharp in a navy suit, one I had bought him with my savings last month. His face was radiant, far too happy for someone just heading to a work trip. Emily, where's my black document bag? He yelled as he came in. It's in the office, on your desk, I replied calmly, folding laundry on the sofa. Michael rushed into his office. I heard him rustling through papers, opening drawers loudly, then grumbling, "Damn it, where's that red folder?" "What folder, honey?" I asked, walking to the doorway. Michael turned, his face panicked. "The red folder with the draft of the partnership agreement. Did you move it? I told you not to touch my desk." "I didn't touch anything." "Maybe it slipped under that stack of magazines." Michael grunted in frustration and bent down to look. As he did, another folder fell out of his open briefcase. It was a blue folder, and a single sheet of paper stuck out. My sharp eyes caught the letterhead, the logo of a law firm. My heart stopped for a second. Michael found his red folder on the bookshelf. "Ah, here it is. My eyes must be going bad." He laughed in relief and quickly stuffed it into his bag. He also carelessly picked up the blue folder and shoved it in. "I'm leaving now. Don't call me for the next 2 days. The signal is bad there," he said, patting my cheek. A pat that felt like a slap of humiliation. "Be careful, honey," I said flatly. As soon as his car sped away, my premonition about that blue folder grew stronger. A law firm. As far as I knew, Michael had no legal issues with his business. Suddenly, my eyes were drawn to the printer in the corner. Its indicator light was blinking. It was jammed. It seemed Michael had been in a hurry to print or copy something, and a page got stuck. With trembling hands, I approached the printer. I opened the cover and gently pulled out the crumpled paper. The ink was slightly smudged, but the words were still legible. It was the first page of a document. Diverse petition. Petitioner, Michael Walker. Respondent, Emily Walker. My legs gave out. My body sank to the cold floor. Even though I had expected it, seeing it in black and white still ripped my heart to shreds. I read the grounds for the petition with blurry eyes. That there are irreconcilable differences between the petitioner and the respondent. That the respondent, M, cannot keep up with the petitioner's lifestyle and social status. That the respondent frequently instigates arguments over financial matters. "Lies," I hissed, tears finally spilling. "Can't keep up with your lifestyle? Who funded that lifestyle, Michael? Frequent arguments over finances? That was because you were squandering our money on that homewrecker." But the most painful part was on the next page, which had also been partially pulled out, though it was torn. It was a draft for the division of marital property. Michael was demanding the house. He was demanding the commercial property. He was demanding the cars. He claimed it was all the result of his own hard work during the marriage. "You want to rob me, Michael? After you robbed me of my heart, you want to rob me of my future?" My anger began to overpower my sorrow. I crumpled the paper into a tight ball. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, a notification from the cloud storage app. I had forgotten. Michael used his old iPad for work, and it was connected to our family cloud account, for which I held the password. It seemed that on his way to the airport, he was on a video call, and because the iPad was set to auto-record audio, a feature I had once enabled to record his important meetings, the recording was being uploaded to the server. I opened the latest audio file. It was still recording in real time, or had just happened minutes ago. I pressed play. A woman's crisp laughter filled my phone's speaker. Clarissa. "Babe, did you see your wife's face when you left? God, she looked so pathetic, like a wet dish rag." Clarissa's mocking voice was accompanied by the sound of jazz music from the car radio. Then, I heard Michael's voice, the same voice that used to whisper words of love to me. "Ha ha ha, I know." She completely believed the whole out-of-town meeting story. The stupid woman. She thinks I'm working this hard for her. I'm working this hard so I can divorce her faster and marry you, babe. But what about her assets? "Honey, are you sure you can get everything?" Clarissa asked, her tone greedy. "Don't worry. Emily is naive. She doesn't understand the law. All the assets were acquired during the marriage, so it's marital property. My lawyer has a strategy. We'll make it seem like she's a neglectful wife who couldn't support her husband's success. The judge will side with me. Then we'll sell the house, buy a villa in Miami for our honeymoon. Oh, you're so smart, my future husband. Seriously, Emily is only good for being a maid. She can cook, she can clean, but she doesn't have the brains to keep a husband. Good thing I was here to save you from that boredom." "Yeah, thanks, babe, for taking me back. I regret not being able to give you what you wanted back then. Now, I promise I'll give you the world. As for Emily, let her become a charity case or go back to whatever small town she came from. She's useless now." Their laughter erupted together, sounding like the cackling of demons in my ears. I stopped the recording. Silence. Only the sound of the rain outside, growing heavier, matching the storm in my chest. They were laughing at me. They were planning my destruction while laughing. They called me a maid. They called me stupid. I stood up. There were no more tears. My tears had dried up, replaced by a fire burning in my soul. I walked to the large mirror in the living room and stared at my face. The face of a woman who had been sincere, who willingly gave up new clothes for her husband's business capital, who woke up at 5 a.m. to prepare his breakfast. "You are wrong, Michael," I whispered to my reflection. My gaze was now as cold and sharp as a razor blade. "You said I have no brains. You said I'm naive." I picked up my phone and called Mr. Harris, my late father's attorney. It was almost 7 p.m., but I didn't care. "Hello, Mr. Harris. I'm sorry to bother you this evening." My voice was calm but laced with pressure. "Oh, Emily, my dear. It's no trouble. Is something urgent?" "Very urgent, sir. Regarding the sale of the commercial property and the land upstate we discussed, I agree to the price the buyer offered. I want to sign the sale agreement tomorrow morning. And one more thing, please prepare the documents for the transfer of shares in Michael's company, Walker Consulting, LLC. You'll recall from the founding documents that I hold an 80% stake as the primary investor, even though Michael runs it as CEO. That's correct, Emily. It is still in your name. Michael holds only 20% non-voting shares. Good. I want to call an emergency shareholders meeting. Tomorrow, I will be selling my 80% stake to a third party. I have a friend who is interested in acquiring it." There was a brief silence on the other end. Mr. Harris could probably smell the scent of war. "Emily, does Michael know about this? This will effectively strip him of all control over his own company." I smiled wryly, a smile Michael had never seen. "He doesn't need to know now, sir. Let him find out when he gets back from his meeting in Miami. When he walks into his office, he'll no longer be the boss." "Very well. If that is your wish, Emily, I will have the papers ready by 9 a.m. tomorrow." "Thank you, sir. And please ensure the proceeds from the sale of the properties and the shares are wired to my private Swiss bank account, not my domestic one." The call ended. I looked back at the crumpled divorce petition on the floor. I picked it up and smoothed it out gently. "You want to divorce me because I'm not on your level, Michael." I took a lighter from a drawer. I lit it and touched the flame to the corner of the petition. I watched it burn slowly in an ashtray, seeing my name and Michael's turn to black ash. "Have fun in Miami with your stolen money, my husband. Enjoy your last laugh with that homewrecker. Because when you come back, you won't have a home to return to. You won't have a company to lead. And you, Michael, you will realize that this maid was the queen of your castle all along." That night, I slept soundly. For the first time in months, I felt no anxiety, because I knew the self-destruct button was in my hand, and I had just pressed it. The next morning, New York was bright and clear, a stark contrast to my heart, which had frozen solid. Michael stood at the door, his Louis Vuitton suitcase, a birthday gift from me last year, already in the trunk of an Uber. He had refused the company driver, claiming he wanted to be independent. I knew it was because he didn't want the driver reporting that he was picking up Clarissa. "I'm off, Emily. Wish me luck with this project," he said, adjusting his sunglasses. He looked more like a celebrity on vacation than a businessman heading to a tough negotiation. "Of course, honey. My prayers are always with you," I replied. "My prayer that you quickly realize you're digging your own grave," I added silently. Michael gave me a hurried peck on the cheek. The faint scent of vanilla perfume lingered on his shirt. He must have already met Clarissa this morning. As soon as the Uber disappeared from view, I didn't wave. I turned around, closed the door, and locked it securely. Playtime was over. It was time to clean house. I changed into a tailored ivory blazer and matching trousers. I styled my hair into a sleek bun. Today, I was not Emily, the homemaker. I was Emily, the investor, the chairwoman, the executioner. My first stop was Mr. Harris's office. The middle-aged man greeted me with a look of concern, yet remained professional. On his desk, Stacks of documents were ready. "Emily, are you certain about this?" he asked one last time, handing me a pen. "Selling 80% of the company's shares when it's performing so well is a drastic move. Michael will lose all control. He'll just be a minority shareholder, an employee." I took the pen with a faint smile. "The company is performing well because of my capital injections, sir. Michael's ideas are good, but his execution is reckless. Without my financial oversight, the company would go bankrupt in 6 months from him funding his new girlfriend's lifestyle. I'm saving my assets before the ship sinks," I said firmly. Without hesitation, I signed my name above the seal. Swish, swish. The sound of the pen was like music to my ears. With that signature, Walker Consulting LLC no longer belonged to Michael Walker. The investor Mr. Harris brought in, a ruthless private equity firm known for its brutal efficiency, was officially the new owner. "And what about the commercial property?" I asked. "It's done." The buyer agreed to the market price plus a 10% premium for the prime location. "The funds will be wired to your private account this afternoon." "Excellent. Make sure the eviction notice is delivered to Michael's office the day after tomorrow, right when he's scheduled to come back to work." Mr. Harris looked at me with a mixture of horror and admiration. "My dear Emily, you've really thought of everything." "He started the war, sir. I'm just finishing it." That afternoon, I stopped by a casual burger joint for lunch. While eating, I opened Instagram on a new, anonymous account. Clarissa's profile was public. How foolish. Or perhaps she was showing off on purpose, hoping I'd see it. Her latest story was posted 10 minutes ago. The location tag was a chic beach club in Miami. The video showed their 2 hands holding cocktails against a backdrop of an infinity pool and the ocean. "Cheers to a new life with my love," the caption read. The next slide was a photo of a lavish seafood platter, lobster, king crab, oysters. I glanced at my watch. 12:30 p.m. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text alert from my bank. Wire transfer received. $4,500,000. Sale of Fifth Avenue property. Wire transfer received. $2,200,000. Sale of majority shares. A total of nearly $7 million had just landed in my secure, offshore account. I stared at the screen, smiling. The money that had been tied up in Michael's ego was now liquid and entirely mine again. Meanwhile, in Miami, Michael was probably paying for that lobster with a corporate credit card, unaware that his access would be frozen by the new majority shareholders tomorrow morning. "Eat up, honey. It's your last supper," I murmured. In the evening, I returned home, but I wasn't alone. I brought 3 burly men and a large moving truck. "Mrs. Walker, which items do you want us to take?" one of the men asked. I pointed to the expensive paintings on the wall. "Michael's collection, all bought with my money. Take them. Sell them to the gallery my friend owns. I've already called them." I pointed to the state-of-the-art home theater and sound system in the living room. "Michael's pride and joy during football season. Take that too." I went into the bedroom and opened Michael's closet. I took out all his luxury watches. A Rolex, a Tag Heuer, a Patek Philippe. 5 in total. I had bought them for him as gifts to celebrate business milestones. "Sorry, Michael, these aren't marital property." "The receipts are still in my name," I said, placing the watch boxes in my bag. Then I opened the jewelry safe. I took out all my jewelry, my diamond necklace, gold rings, gold bars. The safe was now empty, leaving only dust and our marriage certificate, which I would need in court. "Ma'am, this leather sofa is imported from Italy. It's a shame to sell it in a hurry," one of the movers said. "Just sell it. I don't need the memories. I want a change of scenery," I replied coldly. Within 4 hours, the luxurious house was transformed. The walls, once adorned with art, were now bare, marked only by nail holes. The grand living room was now an empty cavern, with nothing but a rug and a single old wooden chair. I didn't sell the house itself. The deed was still in my name. I just wanted Michael to come home to an empty house, as empty as his promises, as empty as his heart. Before leaving, I did one last thing. I went to the garage. Parked there was Michael's pride, a 2-door Porsche 911 he loved to show off to his car club friends. I had already called a tow truck. "Sir, Please take this car to my friend's showroom on Park Avenue. The title and bill of sale are on the dashboard." "Yes, ma'am." The car was towed out, leaving the garage vast and vacant. The sun was setting as I stood on the porch. The house was now completely dark. I had intentionally let the prepaid electricity run out and didn't refill it, let him experience true darkness. I took out my own suitcase, filled only with my clothes and important documents. I ordered an Uber to a new apartment I had rented a week ago in a secure high-rise downtown, a place Michael didn't know existed. In the Uber, I checked my phone again. Clarissa had posted a new photo. They were having a romantic candlelight dinner. Michael was laughing, his teeth white and gleaming. I typed a text to Mr. Harris. "Sir, freeze all of Michael's supplementary credit cards and block the corporate accounts at 9 a.m. sharp tomorrow. No mercy." Sent. I leaned back in my seat, watching the glittering lights of the New York skyline. Enjoy your vacation, honey. Enjoy tonight, because when the sun rises tomorrow, your world will go dark. One last tear rolled down my cheek, but it wasn't a tear of sadness. It was a tear of liberation. I had finally removed the parasite that had been feeding on my life. The first phase, financial destruction, was complete. Liquid assets were secure. Fixed assets were sold. Now, I just had to wait for the second phase, psychological destruction. And that would begin the moment his feet touched the ground in New York. The blistering Miami sun seemed to do nothing to warm Michael's suddenly pale face. He stood rigidly at the reception desk of the five-star hotel. Beside him, Clarissa was busy adjusting her Dior sunglasses, oblivious to the storm that was brewing. "I'm sorry, Mr. Walker," the receptionist said with a polite but final smile. "Your credit card has been declined by the bank's system." "That's impossible," Michael snapped, his voice rising and drawing the attention of other guests in the lobby. "That's a corporate platinum card. The limit is unlimited. Try it again." "Your machine must be broken." The receptionist tried again. The same short, infuriating beep sounded. "Transaction failed. Still declined, sir. Perhaps you have another card?" A cold sweat broke out on Michael's brow. He frantically fumbled through his wallet, pulling out his backup card, the supplementary one from his joint account with Emily. Swipe. Declined. He pulled out his personal debit card. Swipe. Insufficient funds. Michael stared in disbelief. "How could this be?" he muttered. "That debit account should have had his last year's bonus in it, and the corporate card was always supposed to be funded." "Babe, what's taking so long?" Clarissa whined, growing impatient. "The airport car service is waiting. We're going to miss our flight." "Just a minute," Michael snapped, his voice sharp. Clarissa jumped, her eyes wide with indignation. "You could pay with cash, sir," the receptionist offered. With a trembling hand, Michael opened his wallet and counted his remaining bills. Luckily, he had brought a decent amount of cash just in case. He slapped the stack of $100 bills on the counter. "Here, take it. Useless hotel. Your systems are a joke." He tried to mask his shame with anger, but his heart was pounding. The cash left in his wallet was now barely enough for the car service, let alone a fancy dinner. "Let's go," Michael said, grabbing Clarissa's arm roughly. "Ouch, Michael. What is wrong with you? You've been so angry all morning," Clarissa protested as they walked to the car. "Just shut up. The stupid bank probably flagged my card for suspicious out-of-state transactions. I'll sort it out in New York." "Don't add to my headache," Michael rationalized, trying to convince himself it was just a system error. Yes, it had to be a system error. Their flight landed at JFK that afternoon. The humid New York heat hit them as soon as they left the terminal. Michael turned on his phone, hoping to see an apology from the bank or a text from Emily asking how he was. Nothing. No message from Emily, no message from his attorney, and strangest of all, no message from John, the company driver. "Where's John?" Clarissa asked, fanning her face with her passport. "He was supposed to be here with the Escalade. It's so hot and dusty out here," Michael called John. "The number you have dialed is not in service." "Damn it. Where is everyone today?" Michael growled. He opened the Uber app to order a premium car. The app processed, then a red notification popped up. Payment method failed. Please update your payment method. Michael had forgotten the app was linked to the credit card that had just been declined. "Michael, come on. My feet are killing me in these heels, Clarissa complained. Can you just be quiet? The app isn't working. We'll have to take a regular taxi, Michael decided. A regular taxi? In that long line? No way. Either you get in the taxi, or you can walk, Michael threatened, his face flushed with rage. Clarissa fell silent, shocked by this temperamental side of him she had never seen. Sulking, she followed him into the long, winding line for a yellow cab. Inside the taxi, with its weak air conditioning, they sat far apart. The affectionate hand-holding was gone. To my office first. Midtown, Michael ordered the driver. He had to sort this out immediately. The taxi pulled up in front of the 3-story commercial building that housed Walker Consulting LLC. But something was wrong. The company's nameplate was gone. In its place was a massive banner that read, "This property has been sold and is undergoing vacation." Michael's eyes widened. What the hell is this? He jumped out of the taxi, forgetting to pay until the driver yelled at him. Clarissa followed, confused. Michael burst into the building. The lobby was a mess. Cardboard boxes were stacked everywhere. His employees were busy packing files, their faces grim. "Hey, what's going on here?" Michael yelled. "Who ordered this? Who put that banner up?" A stranger in a sharp black suit emerged from what used to be Michael's office. He looked at Michael with cold, detached eyes. "Are you Mr. Michael Walker?" the man asked flatly. "Yes, I'm the owner of this company. Who are you? And what are you doing in my office?" The man smiled faintly and handed him a brown envelope. "I represent the new owners of this building and the new majority shareholders of the company, Sterling Capital Investments. This is the official notification." Michael snatched the envelope and tore it open with shaking hands. Inside were copies of the share purchase agreement and an order to vacate the premises. At the bottom of the share agreement was the signature of the seller, Emily Walker. Michael's world spun. "Emily," he whispered in disbelief. But I'm the CEO." "You were the CEO, Mr. Walker?" the man clarified calmly. "But in an emergency shareholders meeting held yesterday, attended by the holder of 80% of the shares, Mrs. Emily Walker, it was decided to completely restructure the board. You have been terminated, effective immediately, for alleged misuse of company funds for personal interests." "Lies!" Michael screamed. "This is my company. I built it from nothing." "You ran it, but 80% of the capital came from your wife, did it not?" "Legally, she has the right to sell her shares at any time," the man retorted. "And as for this building, the deed was in Mrs. Walker's name. She sold it to our client. You have 48 hours to vacate." Clarissa, standing behind Michael, gasped. So you were just an employee, Michael. You told me this was your company." Michael turned to her, his eyes wild. "Babe, it's not like that. Emily trapped me. And one more thing," the man in the suit interrupted. "The company's Range Rover and Escalade have been repossessed by the leasing company as the loan guarantee provided by Mrs. Walker was withdrawn. Please collect your personal belongings and leave the premises now." Michael stood frozen. He felt as if he had been stripped naked in public. His employees were now staring at him with a mix of scorn and pity. He could hear their whispers. No wonder Mrs. Walker never came around. He was cheating on her. Serves him right. Michael backed away slowly, unable to face their judgment. He grabbed Clarissa's hand and pulled her out of the building. "We're going home," Michael said hoarsely as they got back into the waiting cab. "We're going to my house. It's safe there. That house is my castle." During the ride home, Michael tried calling Emily. "The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service." He called the landline. No dial tone. The line had been disconnected. The sky was growing dark as the taxi entered his upscale residential complex. Michael hoped to see the warm glow of the porch light, hoped Emily would be there, maybe angry, but he could talk her down. He would tell her he had made a mistake. He would get on his knees and beg if he had to, just to get his access back. The taxi stopped. The house was pitch black, like a haunted mansion. "Why are the lights off?" Clarissa asked, her voice tinged with fear. "This place is creepy, Michael." Michael got out and paid the driver with the last of his cash. He ran to the front door. It was locked. He fumbled for his key. The door creaked open. A musty smell hit him. Not the usual scent of Emily's cooking or the lavender air freshener. Just the smell of dust. He turned on his phone's flashlight. The light switches didn't work. The power was cut. The beam swept across an empty room. The Italian leather sofa was gone. The 60-inch TV was gone. The paintings, the sculptures, all gone. The house was completely bare, leaving only the cold marble floors. Michael sprinted up the stairs to the master bedroom, his breath ragged. "Emily! Emily!" he shouted, his voice echoing in the empty house. The bedroom door was open. Their king-sized bed was gone. The walk-in closet doors were wide open and empty. Michael's clothes had been dumped in a heap on the floor like trash. All of Emily's belongings were gone. The safe on the wall was open and vacant. Michael collapsed onto the pile of his own clothes, his knees hitting the hard floor. "Gone," he whispered. "Everything is gone." Clarissa appeared in the doorway, panting. She shone her phone's light around the room. "Michael, where are all the luxury things? Where's the jewelry you promised to show me?" she shrieked hysterically. "Why does this look like a squatter's den?" Michael looked up at her, his expression vacant. Emily took everything. She knew, Clarissa. She knew everything. "So where's your money? Your bank accounts? Your shares?" "Frozen. Sold." Clarissa's face transformed from panic to disgust. "So you're broke now? You have nothing left?" She took a step back. "You lied to me. You said you were a successful tycoon. Turns out you were just your wife's parasite." "Don't leave me, babe. We can start over," Michael pleaded, reaching for her hand. Clarissa slapped his hand away. "Start over from scratch? You can eat your love for dinner. I left my wealthy ex-husband for you because I thought you were richer. Turns out you're a zero." She turned and walked away, leaving him alone in the darkness. "Clarissa, wait." But the sound of her heels faded quickly down the stairs, followed by the slam of the front door. Silence. There was only Michael, the darkness, and the pile of wrinkled clothes. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A notification. It was an email from Emily Walker. Subject: a welcome home gift. With a trembling hand, Michael opened it. The body of the email contained a single, short sentence and a PDF attachment. "Welcome back to reality, Michael. I hope you like the new decorations. Attached is my divorce petition. See you in court." Michael threw his phone against the wall, shattering the screen. He tore at his hair and screamed, a primal, desperate scream that was answered only by the echoes of the empty walls. The king had fallen, and his castle was now nothing more than a concrete tomb. The next morning, the hallway of the New York County Family Court felt suffocating to Michael Walker. He sat on a hard bench, twisting the hem of his wrinkled suit, the last one he owned, the only remnant of his former glory he hadn't yet sold to survive. Beside him, Clarissa sat applying a garish red lipstick, a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere. She didn't look worried. She looked greedy. "Remember, Michael," Clarissa whispered without looking at him, "you have to fight for the house. Your lawyer said it's marital property. Don't let that small-town woman win. We need that capital to get married and buy a new apartment." Michael swallowed hard. "Yeah, babe. Don't worry. I'm the one who worked for it. The judge will understand." But deep down, he was terrified. The cheap lawyer he'd hired had already told him their position was weak. Case B-12. Petitioner and respondent, please enter courtroom 2. "Come on," Clarissa nudged him. "Finish her." Michael stood, trying to summon the last dregs of his ego. As he walked toward the door, Emily appeared from the opposite end of the hall. Michael froze, his breath catching in his throat. Was that Emily? The wife he had only ever seen in sweatpants and smelling of spices? The woman walking toward him looked like a queen. She wore a perfectly tailored navy pantsuit that radiated power and professionalism. Her hair was styled immaculately, her makeup subtle yet striking. In one hand, she carried an authentic Hermes handbag, not a knockoff like Clarissa's, and behind her walked 2 senior partners from one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. Clarissa's jaw dropped, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and envy. Emily walked past them without a single glance, a sophisticated trail of Jo Malone perfume sweeping away the cheap vanilla scent Clarissa wore. "So arrogant," Michael muttered, trying to mask his own sudden feeling of inadequacy. Inside the courtroom, They sat facing each other. Though separated by only a few feet, it felt like two different continents. Emily's gaze was fixed forward, calm and composed, as if Michael were a complete stranger. The judge began. Mr. Michael Walker, in your counterpetition, you are demanding the division of marital assets, specifically one residential property in Brooklyn Heights and one commercial property in Midtown. That's correct, Your Honor, Michael answered, his voice trying for confidence. It's the fruit of my labor during our marriage. My wife, the respondent, was just a homemaker. She didn't work. It's only fair that the assets belong to me. He glanced at Emily, expecting anger or sadness, but she only offered a small, chilling smile that made the hair on his arms stand up. Emily's lawyer, a distinguished-looking older man, stood up, handing a thick binder to the judge. Permission to rebut that claim with evidence, Your Honor. The judge read the document, his eyebrows shooting up. This is a prenuptial agreement? Michael's face went white. What? A prenup? I never signed that. You may have forgotten, Mr. Walker, Emily's lawyer interjected, his tone calm but sharp. 5 years ago, before your wedding, you signed this document for the separation of assets. At the time, you were bankrupt after your first divorce, and our client, Mrs. Walker, wished to protect her significant family inheritance. You agreed and signed it in the presence of a notary. Michael's mind flashed back. He remembered being desperate, willing to do anything to have Emily marry him and help him get back on his feet. He had signed a lot of papers back then, thinking they were just formalities. Furthermore, the lawyer continued, financial records prove that 100% of the funds for the purchase of the house and the commercial property came from Mrs. Walker's personal inheritance accounts. Mr. Walker did not contribute a single dollar. In fact, records show Mr. Walker extensively used a supplementary credit card funded by Mrs. Walker for his personal lifestyle. The lawyer presented highlighted bank statements. Here is the proof, Your Honor. Transactions for luxury handbags, jewelry, and 5-star hotel stays for another woman, a Miss Clarissa Monet, all paid for with Mrs. Walker's money. The courtroom was silent. Michael felt completely exposed. Is this evidence accurate, Mr. Walker? The judge asked, his tone stern. Michael couldn't speak. His mouth was dry, his back soaked in a cold sweat. Seeing as you remain silent, the court will take it as an admission, the judge declared. The bang of the gavel sounded like a death sentence. The court denies the petitioner's claim to marital property. The court grants the respondent's petition for divorce on the grounds of adultery and financial abandonment, which have been proven. Divorce is hereby granted. Michael's world shattered, not because he had lost Emily, but because he had lost his walking ATM. Wait, Your Honor, I have nowhere to live. I have no money, Michael shouted, all pride forgotten. At least give me some kind of settlement. Mr. Walker, Emily's voice cut through the room. For the first time she spoke, her voice soft yet piercing. You came into my life a broken man. I nurtured you back to health, but you chose to poison the hand that fed you. Now, you will leave my life the same way you came into it, with nothing. Emily stood, bowed respectfully to the judge, and turned to leave. As she passed Michael, she paused and leaned in close to his ear. Enjoy your freedom, Michael. Isn't this what you wanted? To go back to your beautiful ex-wife? Now you're free to be with her, without my interference and without my money. Emily walked out. Michael sat frozen, his legs too weak to stand. Outside, Clarissa waited impatiently. As Michael emerged, looking like a ghost, she pounced. Well, did we win the house? When can we sell it? Michael stared at Clarissa. Her beautiful face now looked grotesque, her heavy makeup unable to hide the greed in her eyes. We lost, Michael whispered. Everything. The house, the business, the cars. It was all Emily's. I get nothing. I even have to pay her legal fees. Clarissa's expression changed in a flash. What do you mean? You said you were rich. You said it was your company. I was wrong, Clar. I thought it was mine. I was just living in it. Michael reached for her hand. But we still have love, right? We can start over. I promise I'll work hard. Slap. A hard slap landed across Michael's face. The sting was sharp and hot. People in the hallway turned to stare. Love? Clarissa shrieked. You think I want to be poor with you? I got back with you because I thought you'd made it. If you're broke again, what's the point? You're a useless man." "Clar, don't," Michael begged. Clarissa backed away as if he were diseased. "Don't touch me. Go deal with your own pathetic life. I'm going to find a real rich man, not some fake nouveau riche wannabe like you." She spun on her heel and stalked away, her stilettos clicking loudly on the marble floor, leaving Michael utterly alone. He stood in the middle of the bustling courthouse. To his left, he saw Emily's back as she walked confidently toward her luxury car, surrounded by her respectful legal team. To his right, he saw Clarissa's back as she stormed away in a rage. He had lost a true queen and been discarded by a false one. Michael slid down to the floor, oblivious to the stares of passers-by. He fumbled in his pocket for a cigarette, but the pack was empty. Just like his life. His phone vibrated. A text from a collections agency. Notification. Your outstanding credit card balance of $45,000 is now past due. Please remit payment immediately to avoid further legal action. Michael laughed. A hollow, broken sound. Tears streamed from his eyes. "Congratulations, Michael," he muttered to himself. "You did it. You finally got rid of your wife." 2 years later, Michael pulled a piece of cardboard over his legs to shield them from the biting November wind. His stomach ached with a familiar, gnawing hunger. He was now a permanent resident of a grimy alley off Times Square, surviving on handouts and the pity of strangers. His eyes drifted to a massive digital billboard across the street. It was broadcasting a replay of a prestigious business awards ceremony. And this year's Woman Entrepreneur of the Year award goes to Mrs. Emily Sari, CEO of the Sari Group, for her incredible success in expanding her real estate and hospitality empire internationally. Michael's heart stopped. On that giant screen, the woman he knew so well walked onto the stage. She was breathtaking in an elegant, glittering gold gown, radiating an aura of success that was blinding. Her smile was genuine and happy. There was no trace of the quiet, accommodating wife he used to berate over petty things. Emily accepted the award and spoke into the microphone. "I dedicate this award to my painful past," she said, her voice calm and clear. "Thank you to the person who once broke my wings. Because of him, I learned how to grow new ones, stronger ones, that have carried me higher than I ever imagined. The end of my marriage was not an end, but the beginning of my independence." The crowd on the screen erupted in applause. Michael hung his head, a single tear splashing onto the dirty pavement. Her words hit him harder than any physical blow. The person who broke her wings. That was him. He was the one who had cast a diamond into the mud, only to watch fate pick it up, polish it, and place it on the highest pedestal. And Clarissa? He'd heard she became the mistress of a wealthy but abusive construction mogul, trapped in a gilded cage by the debts from her own lavish lifestyle. Karma had found her address, too. A sleek, black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop at the red light in front of him. The back window lowered slowly. Michael looked up, and his eyes met the passengers. It was Emily. Time seemed to freeze. He was transfixed, staring at her from the cold, wet street while she sat in the warm, quiet comfort of her car. He wanted to scream her name, to apologize, to beg for help, but his body was paralyzed by a profound, crushing shame. He was aware of his own stench, his filthy clothes, his pathetic existence. He searched her eyes for any sign of leftover love, or even anger. He would have preferred anger, because anger meant she still cared. But what he found was far worse. Nothing. Her gaze was blank, neutral, as if she were looking at a lamppost or a trash can. To her, he was no longer a person. He was just part of the scenery. "Ma'am, the light is green," her driver said. Emily nodded, then pressed the button to raise the window. Just before it closed, Michael saw her turn to the handsome, well-dressed man sitting beside her, her new husband, a renowned tech billionaire. The man took her hand gently, and Emily smiled at him. A smile that once belonged only to Michael. The Rolls-Royce pulled away, splashing a wave of grimy water onto Michael's face. "Emily," he whispered, his voice lost in the city's noise. He had nothing left. His pride was shattered, his hope extinguished. He finally understood what Emily had tried to tell him long ago. He was aware, now, of who had given him everything. But that awareness had come 2 years too late. Michael leaned his head against the cold brick wall. He closed his eyes, letting the hunger gnaw at him. He remembered the taste of her pot roast, the smell of her morning coffee, the sound of her laughter when he used to come home from work. All of it was now just a ghost that would haunt him for the rest of his miserable life. In the distance, the skyscraper where Emily was probably celebrating her victory stood tall, its lights sparkling against the night sky. And down below, in the darkness of a forgotten alley, Michael Walker, the betrayer, finally understood the true meaning of loss. He realized that the greatest punishment for an ungrateful man was not poverty of the wallet, but poverty of the soul, a desolate, unending regret. His story was over. The king had turned to dust, and the queen now reigned in a castle of her own making.